weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
The chicken to go with the wings.
All right, we watched Invasion of the Blood Farmers.
Yeah, due to popular demand by 2 people.
Popular demand. It was legit a fan request.
Yep.
So that's our first fan request. So it was shot in 1972.
Yep. It was shot in upstate New York, so it kind of had that.
They say upstate,
New England
but it's really
vibe.
just
near-
north
yeah.
of New
North of
York
Long
City.
Island.
North of
Exactly.
Long Island is upstate New York,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then the director was Ed Adlam, and he shot another movie, The Shriek of the Mutilated.
Shriek of the Mutilated.
Yeah.
In researching Invasion of the Blood Farmers, everybody mentioned Shriek of the Mutilated.
Yeah,
So
apparently it's a classic. People love it, which is not what you can say about this movie. It's mostly shot in bars or like drunken scenes.
Yes.
Turns out the director paid the actors in 6-packs of beer. So
Perfect.
It kind of resonated because you almost assume that they were just hammered on set and they just got what they could out of the shots.
At first I thought they acted drunk really well.
Yeah.
But now I know.
Hello, police annex. Deputy Culp at the bar.
Budget.
Budget.
$24,000.
Yeah, and they never made their money back from what I saw. I guess when it was first released, it got a PG rating, which I don't know how they did because there was blood, plenty of it.
Well, they killed a dog and hung the dog body
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
That's not
exactly.
PG.
That's not PG.
I mean, ratings were
Not to our
different,
standards.
because there was no PG-13 back
Yeah,
then.
that's true.
PG-13 came about in the 80s, I think, with Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So the movie starts with they give a background on the Sangroid Druids, and that was great.
Yeah.
And then we immediately jump over to, is it Dawn and Jenny? Is that who we see first? Oh no,
No, next part is, it's this seemingly fucked up dude. He's covered in blood, running down the street. Just kind of staggering all over the place.
staggers almost into a car, and he's covered in blood and stumbles into the Huddle 2 bar.
Yes.
Before Jim Carrey stumbles in.
Yeah.
They're sitting around talking, and then there's very strangely timed cuts of them filming the patrons at the bar, and then it cuts to the bartender for like 1 second, and then back again.
We end up finding out is this guy Jim Carrey, who's been missing for like a few days.
He shows up at the bar.
Yeah.
Somebody help that man in here. Sounds like he needs a drink.
No wonder your dad likes this movie. Get that man in here. Sounds like he needs a drink. So he stumbles in and he just fucking dies on the floor like immediately.
You're like, oh.
And it's a serious death. Like he gargles and it's a pretty good scene. Like that's probably the best acting in the whole movie. He has this dramatic death. It cuts straight from him to like a babbling brook. And then you see our protagonist and his girlfriend kind of frolicking in the brook.
There's some great juxtaposition between him gurgling up his blood, and it goes right to the gurgling stream.
A gurgling stream.
It takes you on a ride.
It's kind of beautiful. The girlfriend is the daughter of a pathologist of sorts.
Yeah.
And I guess he just studies the blood of this dead guy, Jim Carrey. The boyfriend is like a protege to the doctor. She's frustrated that he's always with daddy.
You've been cooped up with my father in that lab of his for the past 2 weeks.
And then it cuts right back to another blood farming scene.
Yep. The gurgling noises when they drain the blood from people sounds just like when in The Wizard of Oz when they fuel up the Tin Man with oil.
You cured her.
So after we see the woman kind of gurgling blood out of her system, it cuts right back to another date scene where the girlfriend and boyfriend are just frolicking in the grass.
One of my favorite parts of the movie is he's feeding the rabbits, and then the father, the pathologist, bursts out of the door. Where have you guys been?
Yeah.
Come on!
Yeah.
Where have you two been? Never mind. Come down to the lab. You won't believe what's happening.
Those labs in a house. So yeah, he brings Don in and kind of explains what he's found. The blood from Jim Carrey had like some type of chemical agent that basically made the blood reproduce itself. He's never seen anything like it.
It's undergone the most incredible transformation. It continues to remain in an unstable state and has been reproducing at a rate unlike any I've seen in 40 years of study.
When the doctor exposes that the blood reproduces itself, it cuts back to the Huddle 2 bar, and the bartender is explaining how the Andersons were the ones that took Jim Carrey's body. And what happens is there's these two farmers with silver hair.
They're at the bar.
Yeah.
They haul ass out of there.
Yeah, they haul ass. They call up their druid lord, Creighton or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to figure out what's going on. Agnon, which is one of those farmers, turns out he's just like a stupid crony that is just like doing whatever God's will is with Creighton. Agnon is recruited to go check it out. He goes and checks out the basement window, which is where the laboratory is. He looks into the window, sees them checking things out with the blood, and for some reason he conspicuously just like falls into the window, like boom! He just fucking books ass out of there. He amplifies up to like 3 times speed.
And the dog
Yes.
starts chasing him. This dog is like in Jenny's room, who's
Dead asleep.
Who's sleeping because it's noon. Is she sleeping at noon?
Guess so. Broad daylight.
You dropped your hat, dude.
Yeah, the dog is just hauling ass and catches right up to him. And he turns around and just beats him to death with like Ames fucking window curtain rod. It's just like
Painted
this cheap bronze window curtain rod.
Painted red with like bedazzled diamonds around.
Yeah, but yeah, he beats the shit out of that dog, kills it.
Yeah.
And he takes a bite out of it, but we notice when he takes a bite out of it, it's like this blanket that's
It's just like
furry.
it's a white IKEA like decorative rug.
Yeah, and they just put ketchup on it. But he takes a bite out of it, and in that whole process, in the tussle with the dog, he drops this like pendant, this key,
A key.
that falls into the brook.
The spade key.
Yeah, the spade key. Yes.
So Don shows up at Dr. Anderson's house. Jenny's serving her father coffee, and he's just kind of sitting there expectantly, and she brings it over to him, and he's like looks at her, and then Don knocks at the door, and she's like, "Oh, hello, Don." So she invites him in, and he sits down at the table, and he's like, "Well."
My, you're up early.
Well?
And just completely unlikable.
Yeah.
The only likable people in this movie are the people that aren't supposed to be the protagonists.
Yeah.
They're either drunk or blood farmers.
Yes.
But they're way more likable than Don is.
After they find the dead dog hanging from the front deck and all hell ensues,
Yeah.
Don tries to find whoever did this to the dog, runs into the vast greatness of the forest, and ends up at the brook exactly where it happened somehow, and finds the key that was dropped into the water,
Which is
like,
one of the most important artifacts to this druidic
whole
cult.
clan, and it's hanging off of some idiot's neck.
Yeah, and he drops it fighting with a dog.
Fighting with a dirty old dog. And from there, it kind of takes a left turn. It goes to a newlywed scene where like these two people we haven't met yet are newly married, and they rent this bunk-ass hotel room in the middle of nowhere.
The husband in this scene is the writer-director,
Yes.
co-writer and director of the movie. It's very strange because the husband watches the wife go into the shower, and he's watching her and watching her and watching her. And as soon as she shuts the door, he's like, and opens up the suitcase.
The worst packed suitcase ever.
The worst packed suitcase ever, and he's like digging through it. And I was watching it again. I'm like, why is he doing this? But he just like pulls out his pajamas.
Well, and then she comes out in like what is sexy lingerie
Right.
back in the 70s, and he's just like, "Oh, come on, I'm tired.
I gotta
Like,
take a
I
shower."
gotta take a shower." The part that made me laugh so hard about that. This guy's like washing his hair, swaying like a drunk, and he keeps rubbing his head on the fucking glass of the shower door.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing that? Just stand still and fucking scrub your hair. This Agnon dude just busts in, slides the door open, and beats the living shit out of him.
Yeah. When Agnon drops off the newlywed couple, the funny thing that made me laugh was that when he's carrying him in, he's all wrapped in a garbage bag, but his ass is all ripped apart in the garbage bag.
Just mutilating his booty. We finally, after like it's what seems like an hour, we cut to the Druid Lord Cretan.
Tonight strikes the hour for the Feast of Menenon, the 1st of May.
He looks like a chromed out Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
How many cans of chrome spray paint do you think they went through painting this guy's hair for the whole production?
About the same amount they had to use in Mad Max Fury Road. He's like this lead druid that's here to help formulate this plan to get the perfect host for this queen.
Queen on Horrid.
Queen on Horrid, who's dead in a plexiglass casket.
Because they've...
Yeah.
Druids had plexiglass a long time. Transparent aluminum. How do we know they didn't invent it? It's about this point that we realize that they're just grabbing random people to find a host with a blood type that would take this pathogen to multiply the blood and not make the person melt.
Yeah.
And be the right type of blood for Queen on Horrid to intake to be able to come back to life and restore the druids to their true power.
Yeah.
But it took like 4 hours to get to this
bullshit.
Of bullshit.
After we find out what's going on, it cuts back to Dr. Anderson and Don. And Don is like, "Hey, I found this key in the river. Can you check it out?"
How unusual. Strange alloy of some kind. You know, I can't identify this metal. Quite heavy for its size, and yet it's too hard for lead.
It's just like the weight and the consistency of this metal. He didn't like try to bend it or anything. He didn't like put it on a scale. He's just like, "I don't recognize this." And then they have to call on the expert. And he knows some guy. His name is Kinski.
At the university.
Yeah, at the university.
Let's get into Kinski a little bit because I think he's come up early in the movie.
Yeah.
So Kinski is actually the druid Sontag. I think Sontag is his druid name.
Yeah.
So Kinski has been a professor all along. Who knows how he got his doctorate? Dr. Anderson calls him because they're colleagues of some sort. And that's where he presents him with the key and saying, "Oh, I found that. I know a guy who might know something about this key."
Yeah.
Which is not lead. But Kinski goes to Cretan and says, "Lord Cretan, that idiot Aegon has dropped the key."
That stupid, blundering fool. Without that key, we cannot continue to supply the blood from those who give it to us.
He's so mad he put his candle out.
Yeah.
Aegon, you idiot.
Yeah.
Your perverted thirst has screwed us again. And Cretan kicks him over.
Yeah, kicks him. Front kicks him right in the fucking chest. It's awesome. I forgot about that.
So you know the guy from the bar who says, "My wife is gone," and he walks out and then he's like all distraught. Eventually it shows him again and he's just kind of stumbling around the woods, and the druid with the KKK hood, which we'll get to.
He like comes, he's just like sneaking in the bushes.
Yeah.
You see the hide guy come near the bushes.
"What's that?" And he has a
He has a fucking sharp ass machete looking
like a
thing,
machete to chop weeds. He's like, What's that in the woods? And he sets it down.
Yeah. Walks over, and dude just comes out with a syringe. Blah.
Right in the eye.
Yeah.
And then does a takedown on him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall this takedown?
Yeah.
How would you rate that takedown?
It was... I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10? Like
Yes.
a 2?
A 2.
It was an attempt.
One druid has a KKK pointy hat.
Yeah.
I don't understand why none of the other ones did.
Yeah, and I didn't know if the flopped over, like, we made an assumption while we were watching the movie that maybe the flopped over ones because the ceilings were too low.
Oh, yeah.
And they couldn't have the pointy ass hats in those ceilings.
There is one scene where the ceilings are very low because it's just somebody's house that's falling apart and the ceilings are like dipping down. So
like
like,
they had a flood in their
hey,
second floor.
fellas, if you're over this height, you got to fold your fucking druid hats down.
We get that. We get also the scene of this drunk dude that's stumbling from the Huddle 2 into the woods, just walking.
Directly across the road from the Huddle 2 into the woods. It's the guy who was cleaning the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
The co-writer of the movie. You think he would have wrote himself a better part.
Yeah. He's walking down this dirt road and he just decides to hitchhike with his car. And he goes near the car and they just grab his arm and pull him in. And he's gone. And that's it. And you see like the blood sucking scene.
And they drain his blood.
Yep, exactly.
I want to say that the blood draining scenes reminded me a lot of a game called Night Trap. Some people out there got that. Right there, Night Trap.
Yep.
You just watched it.
After we see those kill scenes, it goes back to the actual storyline, which I think they just have to keep feeding the blood scenes to keep people interested. But it goes back to Dr. Anderson talking to Kinski. He goes back to Sontag. So he's talking to him. Again, Sontag comes back to his house, or Kinski, and he's like, "This key ain't shit. It's nothing. I'm just gonna keep it." And
he said he threw it away.
Yeah, and then Anderson's like, "Well, I'd actually like the key.
I'd like to keep it."
So I threw it away.
I threw it away.
Yeah, it's gone. I don't know what to do.
All right, so I want to talk about Chief Spano.
Yeah.
So Chief Spano, who is the hero of the town, is in Capital City.
Yes.
And because he's gone for unknown reasons, all of this can happen.
Yeah.
And I noticed this in the second viewing,
Yep.
is that Dr. Anderson is reading a paper in the beginning that says, like, storm in Capital City. So he's setting it up.
Nice.
And I'm like, wow, that's unprecedented for a movie of this budget in caliber.
Yeah.
And eventually we get to see a call from Chief Spano to his deputy at the Huddle 2. He calls all over town, and he finally reaches his deputy at the Huddle 2.
I called all over town. Why ain't you in the office?
He called the bar to find his deputy.
I can't get through tonight. I got a motel room here. I'll try to get through tomorrow. And you better be sober when I arrive.
He's like, fuck. Yeah, and at this point, the deputy is so hammered that his police hat is on backwards and like down, like he's a fucking 12-year-old baseball player. And then Anderson calls Chief Spano over to his house, and he looks like Dice Clay.
Yep.
And he fills Spano with all the details of the events since he left. And he's like, "Hey, there's been some weird shit happening over at the Whitakers. We should check it out."
But not before they send Jenny to bed again.
Yes. for the 12 noon nap.
Chief Spano comes in. Jenny says hi.
Yep. That's right.
And
he's like, "What are you doing up so late? You should be in bed."
Well, he says, "Where's your dog?"
Yes.
Welcome back, Chief.
Hi, Jenny. How you been?
Is that Andrew Dice Clay? Hey, Jenny.
Where's Buster? They say something wrong?
She runs up to her
out,
bedroom and goes to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, and then it cuts to Agnon spying on them again. And it's actually dark.
Yeah.
This is,
Finally.
I think, the only time in this whole movie when it's actually
When
dark
there's a
and she
nighttime
actually
scene.
should go to bed. But Dr. Anderson does ask Jenny to put coffee on, or says Jenny has coffee ready.
Yeah.
I'm so confused with the day to night cycle in this
Yeah.
movie, but I try. Maybe they're in Alaska.
Exactly.
Oh, Don, what now?
Now you are going to bed.
Why is she always going to bed?
She's going to bed at noon again.
Besides, I'm way overdue on bringing her cookbook back.
And you're way overdue for bed.
After Anderson has found out that Kinski is wise to everything and Kinski has learned like what's happened, Kinski runs right to Cretan. He tells Cretan that the Andersons know what's up. We have to get rid of them. and they capture Dr. Anderson and Jenny.
Yep.
Don is out of the picture right now. He's like visiting something and doing whatever the fuck he wants.
He went. He has a date with Jenny.
Yes.
And he was going to call him at 6 o'clock.
Yes, that's right.
And he calls from the Town Line Motel.
Yeah. And he knows there's no answer, or like he realizes there's no answer because Jenny and Dr. Anderson have been caught. He knows something's wrong. And he goes to figure out what's up, talks to Chief Spano.
Something terrible's happened to Roy and Jenny.
When did you see them last?
This morning.
Don meets with Chief Spano,
Yeah.
and he says, "Does this mean anything to you?" And I don't know what he's holding. He shows Chief Spano something, and Chief Spano's like, "Woo!" And they both head
Like
out.
Curly?
They both head out to the farm. He's like, "Let's go."
And they go right to the barn.
Don't point your gun at his head.
Yeah. You Pam. Oh shit.
The chief gets freaking stabbed.
Yeah, exactly.
And dies.
Yep. And the ritual is just taking place out on a cliffside somewhere. And Don just happens upon it. Just walks in and says, "Oh shit, what's going on here?"
Don walks right past the one guard that they set
Yeah. The queen is laid out.
in her
And they-
plexiglass coffin.
Yeah. And they take Jenny's blood, they cut her wrist, they take a little blood, and they pour it on her. The queen wakes up.
With the terrible hair.
Yeah. She gets up, walks like, 4 feet? And Don just comes out of nowhere with a fucking syringe and just like, blah! Just blast the reagent back in her eye.
The end.
And everyone fucking dies.
So what was your favorite part of this movie?
That's a tough one. It's really tough. I'd have to say that it's gotta be, because I'm such a nitpicky person with like production quality, sort of, the ADR, when he's like cleaning the blood and talking, and there's just like this dialogue over dialogue. Like you see what he's actually saying and you can hear it, and there's dialogue over that. It drove me fucking crazy, but it was the best.
And I heard this crazy noise. And that's when I saw them. Must have been demons from hell.
My favorite part of this movie was Aegon answering the phone in Druidic cult language and throwing some kind of flashbang into the receiver of the phone.
What?
Anderson calls back later, and it's one of the other druids, the mute who can't speak, and he's like, rah, 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 and he's like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. Like just random gibberish.
Put on Kinski.
I hope you weren't alarmed. My students were having some fun.
So reviews. I will say that like all of them were very like low-level third-party reviews. They were pretty astute, but like, I mean, again, as you know, if you watch this podcast, we love everything. And I mean, there's a special place in my heart for this movie, probably even more special for you.
A drunk fan recommended this to us. He was drunk at the drive-in and didn't remember the movie, so he wanted us to go through it for him and remind him and outline it for him.
Yeah, that's true. And so like we always have like a biased opinion because we review these movies with like an air of joy while we're watching. It's enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. So I mean, we like it, but reviews were really fucking harsh on this one.
Yeah.
If you're gonna watch a movie called Invasion of the Blood Farmers with a cover that is like, you know what you're going into.
Right.
Like, don't go into this thinking you're gonna see a Scanners level movie. Go into it thinking you're gonna watch a Plan 9 from outer space.
I can
like that.
I can relate because all of my efforts have been low budget efforts,
Yeah.
including this one.
This shot. Yes, the shot you're watching right now. If we could only give you a preview of the studio to our Patreon members.
If you saw 2 feet to the left or right of this scene, you would laugh your ass off.
Yep. So yeah, the reviews were harsh. I will say I did also see another review from IMDb where Chief Spano's daughter actually
Yes,
wrote a review.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And she like explained that all of the actors, like everyone in the movie, were either friends of the director or they were neighbors, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you out."
I really liked this movie. I liked it more the second time I watched it.
Yeah, me too.
I pre-ordered the Blu-ray release
Yeah.
with the complete restoration from the original negatives. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this movie. I had never really even heard of it before it was suggested to us. I'm looking forward to watching the follow-up a couple years later, Shriek of the Mutilated.
Yeah.
So that was Invasion of the Blood Farmers, a really great movie.
Yeah.
Everybody should check it out. As I said, it is going to be re-released by Severin Films.
Yep.
So you can Google that and look it up and hopefully order it. Occasionally it is on streaming sites. It was on Amazon Video. It's not now, and it was on Shudder before, and it's not now.
Yeah.
So good luck. There's DVDs and Blu-rays out there, so go on and find them.
Yeah.
It is a great movie.
Yeah.
Probably one of the better $24,000 movies I've seen. That and Clerks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, not only like we obviously want you to support us, but like to support the films that we do, especially when they're these lower level films. Of course, like the licensing is all gone, but just support the influence. And I mean, we'd love to see these B level movies rise up.
More notoriety for them. Let's wrap it up with something solid, because the last two episodes we fucking sucked at the ending.
Yeah.
It's been really shitty.
What do we want to do?
I feel like I'm in the same situation I was last time.
Yeah.
All right, that was Invasion of the Blood Farmers.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yep.
I'm hoping to see many more just like it.
Oh! Endings are like, they say like the intros and endings are the toughest part. But,
oh, god damn it, your camera ended for us.
yeah. Yeah, so this is back when we get... Oh, shit.
All right, so thank you everyone for watching. That was Invasion of the Blood Farmers again.
Yeah.
Please look it up if you're interested, which I hope at this point you are, because we certainly enjoyed it. And fuck you.
Go fuck yourself.
Seeing you